Hi folks, we're back, cutting through the matrix. Another article too is to do with, again, see, we're run by deceit and lies. That's how they get wars going. You always demonize people and so on. You pick fictitious characters that may or may not even exist, but it's good enough for the public if it's repeated often enough. However, here's one from Veterans Today on bin Laden, and it says, years of deceit. The U.S. openly accepts bin Laden long dead. It said conservative commentator, former Marine Colonel Bob Pappas has been saying for years that bin Laden died at Tora Bora and that Senator Kerry's claim that bin Laden escaped with Bush help was a lie. Now we know that Pappas was correct. The embarrassment of having Secretary of State Clinton talk about bin Laden in Pakistan was horrific. He has been dead since December 13th of 2001, and now finally everyone, Obama, McChrystal, Cheney, everyone who isn't nuts is finally saying what they have known for years. However, since we lost a couple of hundred of our top special operations forces hunting for bin Laden after we knew he was dead, is someone going to answer for this with some jail time? Well, no, don't hold your breath. Since we spent $200 million on special ops looking for someone who we knew was dead, who is going to jail for that? Since Bull Rumsfeld, Cheney continually talked about a man they knew was dead, now known to be for reasons of political nature. Who is going to jail for that, it says. Why were tapes brought out and now known to be forged as legitimate intelligence to sway the disputed 2004 election in the U.S.? This is a criminal act if there ever was one. Well, they're used to doing criminal acts and conning you. A picture's worth 1,000 words and a fuzzy bin Laden. Murmuring something the CIA interpret that never jives with what it's actually saying. That's what you get all the time. She's in 66 pages. General Stanley McChrystal never mentions Osama bin Laden. Everything is Mullah Omar. Now, in his talk at West Point, President Obama never mentions Osama bin Laden. Colonel Pappas makes it clear. Vice President Cheney let it out off the bag long ago. Bin Laden was killed by American troops many, many years ago. America knew Osama bin Laden died December the 13th, 2001, and after that his use was hardly one to unite America, but rather one to divide, scam, and play games. With bin Laden gone, we could have started legitimate nation building in Afghanistan instead of eternal insurgency that we invented ourselves. And that's what I mean about CIA ops and so on. You get into a really muddied game. It's very hard to see what's going on because there's so many layers of deception going on. But you've got to get that going to get wars going and to try to give the sheeple down below some valid excuse for invading and plundering and keeping the poppies growing for heroin and stuff like that. And remember too, even during the hearings on Afghanistan and Iraq, Bush himself was asked why he attacked Iraq. It was because that Bush had already said that Saddam Hussein was involved in 9/11, and Bush admitted right there. He says, no, he says he was never involved in 9/11. He was just a bad man, and he's better out the way. That was his answer for going to war. Of course, it was for the oil, you know that too, and for long-term strategy that was laid out long before Bush was even put in, because it's long-term business planning, and that's what you live through.